Are these Epiphones the closest thing to a full-blooded Gibson that there's ever been? Let's check out the brand new Epiphone inspired by Gibson custom shop Les Paul standards. Over the past few years, we have been seeing these brand new additions to the Epiphone lineup, which I think personally are bringing them closer and closer to an entry-level Gibson, particularly these guitars that I've got in my lap right now. To kind of give you a slight sort of spoiler, these feel absolutely amazing to play, and certainly just from the short sound you might have heard there, you might agree that this thing sounds as sort of full-blooded and in-your-face as you would expect from a Les Paul. Now, by all means, some of the materials that were used in these differ from a standard Gibson Les Paul, and certainly where they're made are a little bit different as well. But don't let that deter you. By all means, you know, the price of guitars is a little bit different to what it used to be, to put it very simply. And certainly the quality of what was used to be, you know, kind of a mid-tier sort of guitar, again, in my opinion, I think has been going up and up and up, and you can get yourself a pretty, you know, solid guitar that you're going to play for years and years and years and won't let you down for, you know, a pretty decent amount of money these days. But let's stop waffling through. By all means, if you want to check out just the sounds of this guitar, we have split the video up into chapters, so you can check the timeline just below and in the description. But let's just jump in, check out these guitars, and let's hear them in action. So to give a very quick overview of these guitars, as I mentioned, this is the Epiphone inspired by Gibson custom shop range. Now, what you will find with your standard range of Epiphones, that is just the inspired by Gibson. This is inspired by the Gibson custom shop, which means you're going to get a few different models in the lineup. The one that I'm going to be focusing on today is the 1959/R9/Holy Grail, however you want to, you know, call one of these guitars. But there are a couple of others in the lineup as well, including a Les Paul Custom in an ebony or a white colour as well. Up in white is that one. And you also can get a super stunning 355 or a 3 pickup 1961 SG as well. All super cool guitars. I will be doing features on them at some point in the future. I just kind of wanted to talk about this one because it's kind of the flagship model, certainly for a lot of people, and this was the one that we were really excited about. So it's got all the kind of usual accoutrements you would assume would come with a Les Paul. Mahogany body, maple top there, that is maple veneer on there as well, just for the top. And actually, while we're just talking about that, it's total satin finish on this guitar, which certainly is a little bit different to what you would expect from a Les Paul, but for me, I quite like the feeling of this. It's just, it feels not as sticky as I would expect, especially for a sort of self-confessed Fender guy. I'm much more a fan of this sort of satin feel on there. One piece mahogany neck on there. It's a Laurel board, the usual 24.75 inch scale length, and I guess probably the main topic of conversation over the past little while is the inclusion of the Gibson open book headstock on these guitars. They appeared on a couple of other Epiphones previously, but this seems to be a pretty recurring theme now with the brand, which, you know, certain people really care about this, and I think it is really cool to see, because it was one of those things that I guess people from a distance would notice and know what the guitar is, and if that did matter to you in any sort of way. But it just, again, brings kind of Gibson and Epiphone just that a little bit closer together. If we're looking into the pickups and the hardware particularly as well, it's all Gibson stuff that is in here. So these are Gibson custom bucker pickups, and it's even got things like the CTS pitometers and the Mallory capacitors in there as well, which just give it that little extra bit of kind of, you know, high-endness to it, and just means that you're getting really good parts in your guitar. Comes with a hard case as well, as you would imagine. It's the proper kind of brown and pink style Gibson style hard case as well, which just I think really adds to the vibe of these. But for even just checking out what these pickups sound like by themselves, just on a bit of a clean signal. Certainly just from playing those there on a clean signal, it's very, very much kind of old school Les Paul sort of sounding, these being based off the 1959 models. They're not the most sort of high output pickups, but that's kind of what you'd want because it allows them to clean up a little bit if you do need that. And also, you know, you can just kind of throw a bunch of distortion at it and it's going to handle it really well. Now, this model does come in a couple of different finishes. This one in my lap right now, this is the factory burst, what they're calling this one, which is kind of your classic sort of, you know, cherry sunburst sort of look to it there with the orange going into the red. There is also just another model as well, which is exactly the same specs as that, but just in a tobacco sunburst, which again is another super sort of classic colour combination, which I might prefer this burst to that one, but that's for you guys to discuss in the comments which you prefer. Aaron, in the room, what do you prefer, cherry sunburst or the tobacco?
The tobacco.
That's two for none there. Come on, let's see in the comments which one do you prefer. So in terms of running down the specs of these guitars, that's about as much as I really wanted to cover there. There's, you know, you could kind of spend all day talking about, you know, the comparisons between this and a custom shop. But if you're looking at it, even just in terms of sort of numerical value, so we call that there, you know, this is about 7 times cheaper than maybe the top of the range custom shop. So it's about apples and oranges in all honesty. So I'm just going to let all the sounds do the talking for this and give you just kind of a roundup of how I feel with these guitars. So let's just jump right into that. was just a few examples of what this guitar can do. I tried to kind of weave in a couple of different sort of examples of not just that super riffy, like rock style, as you would come to expect from a guitar like this. By all means, that is what it absolutely excels at, but I wanted to just show that it is a little bit more versatile than you would maybe expect when you see a Les Paul. Now, by all means, this is maybe kind of stepping up to a little bit more, you know, if we're being completely honest with it, a slightly more sort of premium price for a lot of folk. And by all means, you know, the Epiphones that you can get, just the inspired by Gibson models, they're still really great by all means. They still, you know, have got all the DNA that you would expect from Les Paul, an SG, an Explorer, anything like that. But with this brand new inspired by Gibson custom shop line, I think the way that, certainly I would say it to you, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost like you're getting yourself a modified Epiphone on there. You know, not everybody is going to go out and buy a proper Gibson. Not everybody's in, you know, in a position where they can go get a Gibson custom shop. But if you are one of those people who maybe looked at an Epiphone and you've maybe considered that, oh, I'll change the pickups out. Oh, I will, you know, do this to it just to make it a little bit kind of higher end. And this is kind of, you know, taking that step and doing it for you. You're getting kind of one of the most souped out sort of Epiphones you can get. And I really just can't stress enough how fun this is to play and how nice it is to play. It just feels just really, really, really good. I've had my hands on the Les Paul Custom as well, and that's just got as much vibe and as much sort of amazing feeling construction to it as this one. So by all means, if you're near a guitar store, go in, check this out, give it a little play because you'll definitely surprise yourself. But let me know what you think about them down in the comments below. And while you're there, if you have liked the video, give us a like and a subscribe. It does go a long way for the channel. But till next time, I've been Kieran, and this has just been a very quick look at the inspired by Gibson custom shop Epiphone Les Paul Standard 1959. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.